Hey, so I'm CJ. Welcome to my apartment. Uh, Uploading to my YouTube channel now is like some impromptu fireworks they did uh, on the riverfront, rockets over the red or whatever. I think that's what it is, uh, or whatever. I don't know. Uh, Whenever they do something like that, it's really kind of cool. I wasn't expecting it. I never keep up with they when they do that, and I think they go for probably about 15 minutes. I think I got about 6 or 7 minutes worth of them, so you'll see them soon. Uh, so that's neat. So when people come over, we'll be able to watch from my window or go out to my balcony or something like that. I'm excited about that. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about uh, well, before I get into that, let me just say, aren't you glad I'm not holding a guitar? You know, literally, yeah, you know, uh, I'm not gonna play guitar. I'm gonna sing. I'm only one call away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing on me. No, I'm not gonna sing. I'm playing around. When you do like kind of an R&B kind of music or anything like that, like any kind of pop boy pop sound, and it uh, you have to like take some words that rhyme, and then you have to take like one phrasing with the word that really doesn't rhyme, but then you have to make it sound like it does rhyme because that makes you sound like really kind of hip hop, you know, like when you can't find words that rhyme with the word day, you know, or what are the other way be on the way. And Superman has nothing on May, you know. Or because that's very Backstreet. No, what was that? No, In Sync, right? He was like, "It's gonna be May," very nasally, like whatever. Kind of like, yeah, I don't know, I don't know why they do that, but I was not the only time they do that. Sometimes when they're singing and they sing like the word baby, they'll say baby or baby, I don't know, instead of a baby. That was my uh, Madonna imitation from the early '90s, which is she was about to do express yourself, and she was like baby, baby. Okay, so anyway. No, I didn't. This is just rambling. I'm here to talk about, and I wanted to be comical about this because I need to, because I'm talking about American Horror Story episodes. American Horror Story, NYC or New York City, whatever, NYC. Gosh, what is NYC? The shirt does not say I love NYC. The shirt says I heart New York. So why didn't they just call it American Horror Story or NY or I don't know. Is there a crime procedural that's NYC or something like that? Maybe because they kind of wanted it. They started out doing that, but anyway, American Horror Story NYC episode 7 and 8, and so they're doing this over a span of 5 weeks. You see 2 episodes each Thursday for 5 weeks, and then you would have gotten 10 episodes, what you would get. Now, I love how they're doing this because I think if they were not doing it this way, I think this would have got canceled after like the third episode, because it is an extremely slow burn. And so that first night, really, it was just setting up the characters. Well, I mean, that's American Horror Story. A lot happens, and there's not really too much in that first episode. There's there's like a washed up torso of a corpse that doesn't have a head. You know, uh, go figure. Then, but it's not graphic like typically American Horror Story gets graphic. Um, so then, but not really too much. Then there's and it sets it. It's going to be shocking enough at this point, to most people because they don't come face to face with like gay leather bar scene, and that's primarily is what's taking place here. This is so there's a serial killer going around killing people, a la the leather bar, and it reminds everybody of 1980s cruising. That's a movie. It's a movie called Cruising that came out in 1980, but this is set in 1981. I was thinking, why didn't they just set the damn thing in 1980? But so, so what we're getting is I guess a side plot in this first episode of the first night, where there's a medical scientist, bacteriologist who's checking out something that has made sick a lot of the deer on Fire Island, so they're having to like thin out the deer and stuff like that. That's really the last time they really kind of mention the deer. She talks about maybe it could jump to humans, and then we meet some of the other side characters. There's a few females they throw in to kind of sprinkle up. But this is really a male-heavy episode because it really does take place around a group of men who are involved. Some working for a newspaper, and the police. One of them's a policeman who's a closet gay, and I've talked about it. Anyway, and so what it is we get up. The one policeman has come out of the closet. And by then, that was like life and death on your career. Even in New York City, it would have been like They wouldn't give you, even if you were a cop and stuff, they would find a way to get rid of you or something, back then. Apparently, I don't know. Apparently, it wasn't the big protection that it was or whatever. Or maybe the guy had just come to realize something about himself or whatever. For some reason, he couldn't really come out. But anyway, so there's this mysterious figure in big, huge, giant guy wearing black leather going around. And he is showing up and he's attacking people, and yeah. Fact of the matter is, I don't think, no, he is. I was going to say he's not shown to actually kill people, but he actually is later on. So at first it's like, is he real? Is he not real? Is he a phantom? He's he seems to be showing up everywhere. Okay, so, and then people are having a prophecy, a prophetic experience. So this is taken, turns out, we'll get up to episode 7 or 8. Now we're caught up if you haven't been watching this. So, episode 7, because this is what they do. They do this, and you go in real hard in one direction, and then they flip it. And they actually kind of got me going, because I thought maybe they're surely not going to do what they could do. It would just be too lowbrow, could be too right on the nose. Would they do this? And then, of course, why wouldn't they do this? It turns out that the serial killer that looks like the movie Cruising, that whole subplot, that's the subplot. That's not the main plot. That gets resolved. As a matter of fact, we, the viewer, we know who the killer is, so it's not much of a mystery. We're watching the procedural and everything like that through about 7 episodes, and by the end of the 6th, actually by the end of the first episode, I don't know, we see the guy, and yeah, like the third, like in the anyway, yeah, it's you don't have to guess who the killer is. He's a killer. you want to know more about him, kind of, sort of, but he's not really an interesting kind of killer. He's kind of like that Scarecrow from that last Joker movie, where he's like, oh my god, he's like not really threatening, and he's totally like crazy. So, but he's not really Now he's got some stature and everything like that, but just as a mannerism, you wouldn't think that he'd be like intimidating. I'm a small dude, and I feel like if I had to, I could take him on. Like because I got a lot of fight inside. But anyway, yeah. So they get the guy. He turns out to be uh, a works for a fixer who's works with the mob, the mob of New York City that runs it, and that all that kind of stuff kind of takes place like behind the scenes or whatever. One or the other guy, so whatever. So, but that gets resolved at the very beginning of the first of the seventh episode. So maybe about halfway through, hey, this is done. That part's done. But that turns out to be the red herring. It wasn't even like all that. They could have told the rest of the story without this, but that was just to hook us in so they could feed us into these people are having a collective psychic experience, some of them, and what's going on is they are sensing something's coming. And then at some point, he's coming. So they're envisioning a male figure and everything. And it's not this guy, this killer that's trying to put this Frankenstein creature together. That was just him being crazy. Although in an imagination sequence, the writer, one of the characters imagines what it would have been like had that Frankenstein, gay Frankenstein, Messianic anti-God hero would have risen to be the savior of gay culture and killed all the people that oppressed the gay people in 1981 in the village because there was so much oppression in obviously you could tell because of the village people. I don't know. All the different subcultures and all the division taking place in what was supposed to be a bunch of unity in a place of unity or whatever. I don't know. I was a little kid. I wasn't there. So what the doctor, this has been a subplot going on, this doctor up at this point, and it becomes the main plot that there are symptoms and they're getting like they're getting the lesions on their skin, and it's not just a rash and stuff like that, but people are getting this and they are dying pretty quick. And you saw that in some of the earlier episodes, but it's like, okay, they could maybe touch on that, but would they truly make this what this season is about? And this really is the horror of it, and it's really the horror of the AIDS epidemic. And this is in 1981. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I want to say in 1978, 79 or something was when like patient zero, when that first patient that they were identified these symptoms, and to look back and say, hey, this is a pattern, this syndrome, and they didn't know what to call it. And then later on, they realized that it was, some gay men from this typically promiscuous subculture of gay men. That's how the world viewed gay people. They would wear leather and have a bunch of sex, or wear some sort of, village person costume and have sex or whatever. The only thing they knew about gay culture was what porn and comic relief in the occasional movie or TV show would show. Jack Tripper for Three's Company, who wasn't even gay, the character. That's all they knew about gay culture, and then I think so I think Billy Crystal tried to play a representation of a gay character, but it was on a comedy based around a soap opera, so it was not, yeah. So go figure. And then, yeah. Anyway, that's what people thought about gay people. So, yeah, so it was like, okay, well, let's just, we don't know what it is. It's some sort of syndrome. and it seems to be happening from this culture and gay. So it's gay related that we know of, and it's causing deficiency in the T cells. So that was gay related immune deficiency syndrome. Uh, and then when they realized, no, it's not just gay men. It just happens to be that this this culture of gay men here, this area, and everything like that. There's they have more access to sex and unprotected sex, uh, particularly because where they meet are in bars and seedier places. I think people went there to meet because there was no other place to meet. They didn't go there because they wanted to be seedy. Most people that did those things, they just went there because there wasn't another place you could go because everybody really was still at that point in the closet, except for in the larger metro areas. I didn't really uh, come out like all at once. I kind of like edged out from I want to say my early teens until I was like you know safe yeah, around 21. Uh, so yeah. But anyway, long story short, uh, this is kind of a representation that touches on the horror of AIDS, and that's apparent. There is this figure I said dressed in leather, and he is the spiritual uh, mascot of AIDS, I guess. Like he shows up, he's going to kill people, but does he? He's there and he's killing people as a ghost, as a phantom, as a ghost, but he doesn't kill the one man that we see. There's just about the second person that the show has seen actually die of this particular uh, disease, this version of AIDS that they're showing, which seems that because I guess when the time the symptoms would show up, people already really maybe had exposure to it, and had it for a few years in some cases before you start showing symptoms. Everything that I know uh, from HIV from when I used to do volunteer work. And I was an educator, but my education about this was way back from the early 1990s. I was doing some community service. But yeah, and it was just so much that it was kind of like, you could have it for, I don't know, for many years without showing symptoms. So when people started to have symptoms, anywhere from a few months uh, to a few years, and how many people passed through the village uh, in 1981 uh, just to have sex. I mean, there's probably a destination people go to have sex and then go back home, you know, uh, like, I don't know. So anyway, it'd be like going to, uh, spring break for college, and everybody getting laid. That's probably, you know what I mean? So yeah, yeah. So anyway, uh, so maybe this ghost in leather, because he is a ghost. He's not. At first, they don't know if this is the killer. He's going around killing everybody. It's someone else. It's another dude killing, and it was a red herring. This mascot of this season is the actual mascot of the season, and I guess he's like a representation of the disease. He certainly shows up having an issue with the gay community, but I don't know what his deal is because when he encounters uh, at least one of the characters at the end of this uh, at the end of this night is very touching. By the way, he gets greeted by beautiful men that he's photographed. He's a photographer, and he's taken away by their ghost into wherever they're going. They're here on. He's like and their guy. He's like, you're coming with us, but you will be remembered, and all that, whatever. So he was a photographer and everything, a fictionalized character of an artist in the village or something. But a lot of that, a lot of artists in the village in New York City in 1981. And so yeah, it's a dramatization, and the doctor, uh, she is mother to a surrogate uh, of someone else who has symptoms, and so yeah. So I guess what they're doing is they're telling a maybe a fictionalized account, theorizing that it could have, let's see, uh, it could have crossed over from Deer on Fire Island, but I think they're being kind about that. They actually have some ideas that it is like uh, traveled uh, to New York, not from the Deer, but because of airplane travel. Like it's a big populous world, and the village is where there were a lot of gay people, and that's just one of the first places where they started to notice uh, the patterns. But it was, you know, it was a port where people traveled in and out of the country. So I think they're being kind with that. Uh, it came from the Deer and crossed over, which is not out of the question, but that part's not factual. Actually, none of it's factual. It's a fictionalized account, but they're trying to do a good justice, and they're trying to do it in a way that's awakening. They want people to see the story, experience the horror of it, because it was a true American horror story, a true American horror story. That it was not a pandemic, but it really was. Uh, but they just wouldn't they wouldn't call it a pandemic. For a long time, they wouldn't call it anything. First time I heard of it was 1985, when I was in my sixth grade middle school, and say that like for a day or so they were like, "Don't have sex because you can get AIDS," and I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" No one knew. Like a month before that, everybody was whispering about herpes. Let's not get herpes, and then all of a sudden it's AIDS. Let's not everybody have AIDS. So let's not have sex. I'm like in fucking sixth grade. You know, I'm not even like pubescent yet. Really, I mean, I'm almost there, but not quite. So yeah, you kind of give me some. That's cool. But they talked about that for just a couple of days, and then nothing. Nobody wanted to talk about anything. And the next time I heard anything about AIDS, it was on the news. And do you want to know who made the news? Rock Hudson, who I didn't know. Turns out he was in a really awesome movie called Giant with uh, uh, what's that old hag's name? Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean. I came to appreciate him later too. Boy, in retrospect, that was probably one of the gayest movies there could have been. But it inspired the movie. It inspired the TV show Dallas. That was a 3.5 hour movie. Giant. Anyway, Rock Hudson died, and then the next day or so, they were like, someone else. I don't think the Magic Johnson announcement came out until sometime later, like maybe the next year or something like that. But it was like in 1985. By that time I was in about to go into I would maybe at the end of sixth grade. But they went all like almost a whole year, the whole school year anyway, without really talking about it. And only when it started to touch some lives of some high profile people that they couldn't avoid talking about it. any longer because you were going to start missing people that were dying young of these symptoms and not so young. Uh, and what really would stick out, I mean, they were the evening news, right? And they're like making an announcement that porn star, porn star on the news, um, Johnny Holmes, is John Holmes died, and they gave his also known as Johnny Wad. I swear to God, I'm like it was we weren't getting really kind of real information from the government, so the media was having to give us everything, and they were having to do it that way, and through what's going on here, this, and to let people know, hey, this is, and of course, it turned back sexual liberation. It like put a stop on that shit, uh, and so yeah, for a long, like you know, I still today I do not care. Uh, if uh if I'm shagging under an umbrella. You know what I'm saying? Uh, anyway, uh, but so yeah, it's good to know that this can still. I guess it's enough time that they can do this, and yeah, I didn't do a video immediately after watching it because it's like, as I was coming of age, that's when this epidemic of AIDS, they came to call it AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, because it was other people other than just gay people, uh, or just the unseedy. I mean, there were some people who were quite uh, esteemed, and yeah, it was sexually transmitted, but yeah, it was